What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Chemical Hearts, the newest Amazon original movie that's directed by Richard Tanne and is based off the book from Krystal Sutherland. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. Hey, if you like this video, cool, hit that like button, as well as comment below on any video you watch, including this one. So, Chemical Hearts is the story of Henry, who's played by Abrams. He's a very typical kid who is dealing with his emotions in high school. It's his senior year. He's part of the newspaper. He has a couple friends who are very outlierish, like he is. And he's very much a romantic, and he likes to write. He's very much a poetic type of person. And he has never found love. He's looking for the perfect girl, which is impossible because there's no perfect person out there in the entire network of life. And he comes across a character named Grace, who's played by Lili Reinhart, and Grace Town is her name, and she is basically has a disfigurement. She walks with a cane. There's something wrong with her knee, and she has a past that she doesn't want to talk about, which makes her very secluded and very just like inclusive upon herself to not want to talk about this kind of stuff. And it takes a person for some reason like Henry to kind of bring it out of her, to kind of let her expand and to see herself as a human being, which she doesn't see. So they start a relationship, and it starts to blossom until you find out what happened to Grace and the typical storyline of how that plays out. There's going to be a falling out, and then there's going to be an eventual conclusion to the movie. And that's our story of Chemical Hearts. Now, with that said, there are a lot of these movies. There really are. There are very carbon copy movies. They do a lot of the same stuff. There have been several films each year that come out, similar to like 6 Feet Apart or Paper Towns, where something that is involving the situation of the girl or the boy themselves is causing a kind of rift into the relationship that's causing it to have a bloom later on in the film. And with Chemical Hearts, it's delving into the very similar tropes of those types of films, which causes it to become a problem. Like, for every Me, Earl and the Dying Girl and Spectacular Now, you're going to get a Chemical Hearts. Why I say that is because Me, Earl and the Dying Girl has those similar tropes, but it really kind of focuses on the characters themselves, on the relationships. It still deals with the situation, but it has a very good heart to it. And it's the same thing with, of course, Spectacular Now, because it's a similar type of film. But the way that movie's written and directed, and the way those characters with Miles Teller and the girl that's in it, it feels like a much more rounded movie, and you're not getting that with Chemical Hearts. I hate to say it, but I hated this movie. I really did. I think it was schmaltzy. I think it was melodramatic, and I've seen it 400 times before. I mean, how many more times do we need to see the same story of some character that has a disfigurement, and these two people fall in love and have their issues? I know I'm not trying to be like a jerk about this film in general, but when you're delving into a story of a girl who has a situation, and that situation is so cliched and so boring and so repetitive and so played out, it just feels like this genre, this whatever this is so morally bankrupt and so schmaltzily bankrupt. It just doesn't feel like a movie. It just feels like another cash grab. And I don't know, maybe people love these types of movies, and I know there are people out there that love them, but I just can't get behind this movie at all. I don't think there's any chemistry between Reinhart and Abrams. I think it's a very, characters that kind of clash together, and sometimes they bounce off one another, and sometimes they stick to one another. But I just think the fact that the story being only 90 minutes long and just so unevenly paced and so just kind of weirdly directed, and then the music's very schmaltzy and stuff like that, it just feels like a movie that has an interesting idea. And maybe Krystal Sutherland's book is much, much better. I don't know. I haven't read it. I don't read a lot of these books. But when you have characters and they're very atypical trope type characters, you got to give some kind of interesting depth to it. Do something different. It feels like you're just, knocking against, the wood or bouncing something against the wall, and it's sticking, but it's sticking to the same spot that you've done a million times before. And I just don't get it. And Richard Tanne, who directed this film, directed Southside with You, which tells about the early days of, the Obamas. And that's a much more cohesive film. It's a much more interesting film. I don't know if it's 100% truth, but it has a much more interesting dynamic that this film just doesn't have. And then, of course, you have like some of the producers who worked on like the Florida Project and stuff like that. And as much as I hated that ending, I still think that was a much better film. So I think this is one of those situations and cases where the book was bought, and they turned it into a property. Amazon picked up that property and said, we're going to stick it on our streaming service because it'll gain views and likes and, you know, reviews and stuff like that. So with that said, I just think this is a complete waste of your time. I don't think it's interesting. I think it's rated R for nothing. It has like some sexual content, some language and stuff like that. But this movie could have been PG-13 and been just as, you know, fine or whatever. But yeah, just overall, I didn't like this movie. I didn't think it was good. It's unfortunate, but I have to be honest, you know, with my views of these types of films. So, but with that said, that's my take on Chemical Hearts. Thank you so much for watching. I know a lot of people like these types of films, so let me know what your favorite film in this genre is. Like I said, I really like The Spectacular Now. I like Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl a lot. I think those are great films in this genre. But if you have other ones, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, you know, hit the subscribe button for Movie Emporium if you like my channel. You know, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. And if you like this video, cool, hit that like button. I'm sure some of you will dislike it, but hey, it is what it is. But otherwise, see you guys on the next video. Peace out.